Well, here we are. So you want to talk about what we're doing here?
I'd like to tell you a story about us. Swede.
Hold that story.
All right.
We're introducing. So, Pops, what is this place?
This was the Northfield National Bank when Jesse James' gang robbed it September 7th, 1876. Now it is a museum.
The James brothers and the Younger brothers, they were called the James Younger Gang. And they were nationally known to rob banks around the country in small little towns like this, right? So they came here, but it was a bad day for them because the townspeople defeated them by just shooting them back.
The real reason they were robbing was to affect the Union people that fought in the Civil War.
Because they were Confederates.
Oh, the James and the Younger boys were Confederates, and they came up here to do what?
After the war, they came up
The Civil War, after the Civil War.
to have revenge on the Union banks.
And which
they
this
were-
was.
After the Union banks and the guy, last name of Ames, who owned a lot of stuff, including the bank in Northfield.
Oh, okay, so this was a part revenge too.
Yes.
This is the side entrance right behind me that they entered the bank. To my left on the corner, a guy saw him robbing the bank. So he hollered, "Get your gun, boys, they're robbing the bank." And people started shooting at the gang from up across the street. The windows were probably open, and that's how they heard the guy holler, "Get your gun, boys, they're robbing the bank." So they were shooting at him from their windows, and the gang took off and went south out of town. In the meantime, they shot the bank teller, Joseph Lee Hayward. As he said, the vault wasn't open, but rather than try to open it, they just shot the guy, and then the shots were being fired, so they took off. Jesse James and Frank James got out with no wounds. 2 youngers were shot up, but they made it as far as Mandelia, Minnesota. And then before they knew they were going to get caught because they were wounded, so they were going to give up. Jesse and Frank James left ahead of that and got out of Minnesota without getting caught because they split up, for one thing. And believe it or not, some people knew who they were and they helped them because they didn't like big banks then either.
Here's some of the bullet holes where you can see in black, in the black circle.
During the defeat of Jesse James' days, they have reenactments of the robbery about 3 times a day with bleachers set up across the street. It's on horseback, the same clothing that they wore, them long coats. The defeat of Jesse James' days is always the weekend after Labor Day because they robbed the bank September 7th, 1876. If the weather is good, they get around 100,000 people in 4 days, Thursday through Sunday. They also have a rodeo out on the west side of town.
I mean, they have many, many things going on those 4 days during that time. So you're sitting in the bleachers and you're waiting, and pretty soon a horseman comes down the middle of the street, and he's in his duster and his cowboy hat, and you can see his guns, and he's clip-clop-clopping. You look around, there's town folks all over dressed in that era, and they're walking with their families, and they're coming back down, and they're talking, and then you see another horse come clip-clop-clopping down, and pretty soon all hell breaks loose. Everybody's running and screaming, and you know that something is going on, and then the bank robbery starts.
When they robbed a bank, they always shot many shots to scare people, in the air, whatever. But in this case, they were getting shot at, so they started shooting at people too. And one guy, his horse got shot, so they had to pick him up, and then they rode double out of town.
The second cousin from my husband's mother's second marriage was walking down the street, and
What was his name?
I don't know. I don't
Swim
remember.
something.
No, I don't
Sven?
remember. I don't.
He was
Something,
from
yeah.
Sweden.
We don't know. Yes, walking down the street, he couldn't speak nor could he understand English. So, but people were warning him, run, get away from here. But he didn't understand it, and he kept on going, and he got shot, and they killed him.
So he was one of the casualties.
He was one of the
sadly.
casualties. Yes.
And they tried Mankato before Northfield, but they saw that people were suspicious of them, and a big crowd gathered at the bank because the people up in town were watching their moves. And so, once they realized they were being watched, then they resorted to Northfield.
This guy, one of the youngers, spent 25 years in Stillwater Prison, along with Cole Younger, his brother. So right behind us is the Cannon River. Across the river was Malto Mill years ago, and it might still be Malto Mill, probably is. That used to be Ames Mill, and they made flour 400 barrels a day back then. What the James brothers were after was some of the Ames company's money in the bank.
Payroll. Oh.
Pay money.
Okay.
As long as I can remember here, that was Malta Meal. Now it's about quarter of a mile west of here with a big, huge building. But the wind is out of the northwest today, so it brings the smell right downtown.
Right, and it kind of
Not
smells...
that bad of a smell, actually.
No, it smells like popcorn.
Like popcorn.
Yeah. So right now we are staying in the Archer House, which was built in
1977 to be exact.
There you go. And it's newly renovated and it's absolutely beautiful. I'm really pleasantly surprised. I want to talk about what Northfield is known for.
Colleges,
Colleges, cows,
and
Contentment.
contentment. Across the way just a little bit is Carleton University or college? College. So who wants to talk about that?
Well, I can talk about it. If you look down the street, you'll see a big smokestack.
Okay.
That's Carleton College. Across the street is a stadium. And I remember when I was going to school, elementary school in Northfield, Eisenhower came here to campaign, so all the schools went down to see him. That was in 1953.
Wow. Cool.
So I remember that to a T.
That's when candidates would come through the towns, small towns across America on the trains, right?
No,
Well,
that was Lincoln's time.
he came on, that's
That was
true.
Lincoln.
Little before
That was
us.
in the 1800s,
Little
not
before our
1900s. Okay, oops.
He took cars.
He came down from Minneapolis in a bus,
Okay.
and they came in quick. He was here about an hour and took off
All right.
He came to Casson.
on to the next town.
Castle.
Probably Casson was one of them because he stopped there too, out in the middle of a cornfield. And I remember going there with my parents.
And Carleton is a very expensive elite liberal arts college, and also St. Olaf is just up the road, up the highway up here a little bit.
West side of town,
19.
up on the hill.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which would be like a Lutheran college that was started by Norwegians, I would imagine.
Yes.
Yes. And so they're pretty nationally known. I mean, people from all around the country come here. And when I went to Spain to do my semester abroad back in the day, I had a couple of roommates, three. Two were from the States and one was from Spain. and that was in Madrid, by the way. And one of them was named Jane, and I told her right away when I met her where I was from. And I said, are you familiar with Minnesota or the Midwest? Because she told me she was from California. And she said, well, I'm very familiar with the Midwest and Minnesota because I just graduated from St. Olaf right here in this town. So she went to school just an hour south of us here.
Another thing about St. Olaf, they have a very, very, very famous St. Olaf choir, and it tours all over Europe. It often is in Scandinavia. You can't get a ticket.
Yeah.
It's sold out, and it's sold to the people that get there early, and the ones that have it in.
Well, not even early, because one time I called, probably in the late summer, I called down here and said, you know, is there any possibility I can get some tickets for your Christmas concert? And she said, well, are you an alumni? I said, no. And she said, are you a donor? I said, no. And then she says, then no.
No.
It's just not going to happen. There's no way, because there's too many people who want to come down here. It's very, very popular.
And a week from now, these streets will be loaded with college students
Yeah, that's true.
until next May, end of May.
Yep, this place will be hopping.
The population goes up by about 6,000.
Yeah, I can see that. So we are off to his farm to meet the current owners of the farm. And thanks, Dad, for showing us all around. And it's been beautiful so far. Tomorrow we're off to a different farm. And anything else you want to add?
No,
Well,
it's been a lovely day.
Tomorrow we're going to go to West Concord, where I moved in 1955. And there you will see all the modern equipment used in today's farming.
Yeah, awesome. All right, you guys are great, but we're out of here, I guess. He doesn't want to be late. So, all right, see you later.
Glenn and Cindy Grisham's sweet corn stand, and Glenn is my cousin.
We go through like two trucks a day.
Okay. And you were saying today is the last day
Yeah. When this truck is gone, we're done.
for the season.
Yep.
Wow. We are so lucky to be here today.
Yeah.
Because this is the best around, right?
Yeah.
It's big corn.
So why is this the best corn? Anyone?
Nobody will
sweet.
tell.
Super sweet.
Yeah, it is.
From Nebraska, and they're called
Yeah.
what?
The black dye.
Okay.
Well, I was just saying that they're a famous brand of watermelon. A famous.
Famous one?